Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar here. Thanks for joining. So this is the second event of our webinar series, Building Your Brand's Creator Community the Smart Way. And today we're going to be focusing on how to engage and retain your top creators, which is really essential to scaling your creator community efficiently. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Claudia Leitch. I'm a senior professional services consultant here at Tracker, and I was part of the team that ideated on our retention offering at Tracker. So the reason that we want to discuss creator retention and community building is because we have a really great new feature as part of the platform that helps you monitor your creator community more efficiently. So for anyone who doesn't know Tracker, I hope you do if you're attending this event, but maybe you are an influencer marketer that does not use our platform yet. We are the #1 influencer marketing platform for data-driven influencer marketing. Our platform provides everything from influencer discovery to campaign management, program reporting, and market benchmarking. So my team mostly focuses on market benchmarking and really analyzing what is working in influencer marketing right now. And we also build some custom data tools that sometimes get implemented in this platform. We're proud and lucky to work with some of the best brands in the world, including L'Oreal, Unilever, Coty, Samsung, Four Seasons, and Pandora. And if you'd like to learn more about Tracker at any point, you can book a free demo by using the button at the top of your screen. Okay, cool. So I would love to introduce our panelists here. Haley Schluter, who is head of consumer engagement at LVMH Perfume Cosmetics. She's been on other panels with a ton of these events because she's really an expert in the industry. She's also hilarious. And Christie Xie, who is a content creator. I'm going to have both of them introduce themselves a bit more, but I know that Christie and Haley have worked together in the past. So if you want to just introduce yourselves, tell a bit more about yourselves, but also talk about like when you first encountered each other and started working together. That would be great.
Sure. Yep, I'm Haley. So I've been working with Tracker since like 2015. That's when I started. So almost 10 years ago, I started my career at L'Oreal. And fun fact, I became one of the first dedicated influencer marketing experts at L'Oreal back in the day. It was kind of between like comms and PR and social media experts who were overseeing influence. So I've been doing influence for a long time. After L'Oreal, I went to some different organizations. I worked on some beauty startups like Function of Beauty and About Face, where I really learned about paid media and influencer marketing from a growth perspective. So working on CAC and ROAS programs and learning how to really drive growth utilizing these channels that we all love. And I always say my story is like the Three Little Bears. Porridge was too hot at L'Oreal, too cold at the startups. So now I'm having a great experience at LVMH with my porridge, where I'm working on full funnel marketing campaigns with my team. And I oversee paid search, influence, and PR. So yeah, I'm on Givenchy Beauty and Kenzo, but Givenchy Beauty is the bulk of my role. And that's how I met Christie. We actually met at a Sephora in Midtown, and because we were going to do an activation for Givenchy, it's our loose powder, iconic loose powder. So Christie was one of our partners helping us last year celebrate the mini launch of the mini Givenchy loose powder. So we go to this Sephora where we're supposed to shoot this content, and we get there and the powder was not there where it was supposed to be. The end cap like display looked really bad, and we were so freaked out because we had to shoot this content. So anyway, we were kind of agile and nimble together, and we went to a different store and we called the corporate team, and they, kind of brought over some goods and really helped us manicure the store so that it looked really good. But I just remember being so grateful that she was such a fun, easygoing influencer. Was down to hop in an Uber. We got a Suburban to make her feel good. And then we had some coffee together, and we've just been influencer friends ever since.
I'm going to go. I'm a marketer's nightmare, that situation. But yeah, go ahead, Christie.
I'm Christie. Nice to meet you all. And I'm a beauty influencer content creator. And I want to say Haley is hilarious. I'm hilarious. So we're hilarious together.
This is actually just a stand-up special. It's not really a panel.
Yeah, it's a very fun day. It was a very fun day, and it was a bonding experience. But I basically do a lot of makeup review, beauty review, and I'm mostly known for the full face video. So for example, like a full face of Givenchy, a full face of like any brand that I'm like obsessed with. And I started my channel because actually when everybody was starting TikTok, that's during COVID time, I think everybody felt very isolated. So we all like, that's how majority of us like got on, and I became a creator ever since.
Thanks, guys. So, yeah, we're really excited to have you both on today because you have a lot of experience about working that relationship between brands and influencers. So, as I said at the beginning, we're really focused on this topic right now because of some new product enhancements at Tracker. 2 years ago, my team started to look into what's the percentage of creators that brands are retaining from a metric standpoint. That was looking at that from the data side, but more and more we know that that relationship building is the center of influencer marketing and is the key to a good strategy. You can't build your influencer community without retaining the creators and the relationships that you already have. We've also discovered that building that retained community and working on it over time reduces your costs as a brand because once you've acquired your creators, you just need to focus on continuing that relationship instead of finding new creators, vetting them, and reaching out to them again. It also produces more mentions for your brand. So if you have that stronger relationship, they're more likely to mention your brand over and over, quarter after quarter, but also more mentions per quarter. And that equals more brand awareness. And then it also allows you to allocate more time and budget to invest in other areas of your influencer marketing program. And it allows you to intelligently choose new creators to work with. So when you've really maintained strong relationships with your best creators, then you know kind of like who works for your brand and where you should focus your efforts. So at this point, we want to talk a little bit about how does that relationship work from both a paid point of view as well as a seeding point of view. We've done some surveys across Tracker, and we've found that product seeding is the number one way to harness that relationship over time. But I'd really like to hear it from Haley. Can you tell us a little bit more about the steps you take to maintain your creator relationships? And then I have a follow-up question after that.
Okay. The steps that my team and I take, I mean, as Christy mentioned, I very much am like a relationship person, people person. So I do keep pretty intimate relationships with a lot of the creators that I speak with. We do prioritize in-person touch points. Luckily, we're based in New York, where we have a lot of creators based in New York. But if you can't get on with a creator or an agent and they're not local to you, even just doing these like virtual Zoom coffee meetings, I send people like $5 Starbucks gift cards, which can get you like half a matcha these days. And I just try to get on with them. And I'll just be like, hey, or my team, I really work on my team doing this, but like, hey, I'm Haley. Like, this is my dog, Bo. Or, oh, you guys are like, moving in together, you're just getting married. And the value of knowing about somebody's life a little bit, not only does it matter because like it's a people-driven channel, it's a people-driven industry, especially in beauty, but it really does increase your productivity. You find out who's getting married and you send them a little loose powder before their wedding day. And then it becomes part of their get ready with me for their wedding day. Or you found out that I sent a creator flowers the other day because she moved apartments and she actually included the flowers. They were behind her in one of her YouTube videos. So naturally we just get this shout out mention on the YouTube video. So that's a nice top funnel moment for us. So it increases your brand's productivity, but it's not even about your EMV or your, productivity at that point. It's just about the relationship, and knowing somebody more intimately allows you to also know what campaigns they're going to work for and how you can tap them, because we are driving business. This is not all about shooting the shit. So that rapport and that productivity can be really beneficial for your brand strategy.
And Christy, how does that feel for you? Like, how does that personalization work? Are there brands that even if they didn't include that kind of personalized touch points, you would still continue to work with that brand because you love their products?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's actually in my answer for one of the last question as well, but I'm going to mention it now. But definitely for sure, I feel like when it comes to continuing with a relationship with a brand, it's very important to continue the connection. It's not just, doing that partnership one time and then we don't ever talk again. Sometimes it feels so nice, even if it's just an email or like keeping up with each other every few months, or like even if you are far away overseas, it would be nice to connect, over online, or if you can be in person, even better. So.
And what about if the content that you're being asked to create doesn't really work with your audience? So maybe you're hesitant before the content goes live, or maybe you create content that isn't resonating. How do you evaluate like whether it's not a brand fit, or maybe the content needs to get changed up the next time?
So this happened a lot in the industry, where in the creative space, you might have an idea in your head that you think it seems brilliant and you write it down on your little notepad. However, when you execute it, your audience might not find it interesting or understand or relate to your point of direction across the content. Sometimes that happens in ad as well. And the first thing that I do is always think back, is your form of execution the same as your normal execution? So for example, if it's something that is super far out of touch of what I usually would normally talk about, I feel like that gets my follower a little bit less attention of that specific content. And is this topic something that is a current trending topic, especially when it comes to platform like TikTok, where trends die down within seconds? We really have to hold on to a grip of like current event. Just for a quick example, like every video right now I've been seeing is Olympics. So I took the opportunity and started doing Olympic looks, which have been doing great. And I think seizing the moment is very important when it comes to social media nowadays.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like balancing what works for your audience while still throwing in the new stuff, and inspiring. So, there's a lot of balance between all of these decisions. When, Haley, would you say, or how do you find that balance between that personalized relationship and knowing which influencer works for which campaign, and also scale? So you could answer this question maybe in terms of like, how do you manage your team? Because, some influencer teams are smaller than others. And if you want that personalized touch point with each of those creators, you really need to have quite a large team.
Yeah, it is tough to try to reconcile. I have a few members on my team, but I have just one direct report who's dedicated to influencer marketing. And we're Givenchy Beauty. We're growing like crazy. We have big programming on TikTok and a lot of seatings going out. We don't even have a fulfillment center. We pack out seatings in our conference room a la 2017. It's small and nimble over here. So with my team, I do work really hard to set framework so that these in-person touch points become one of her KPIs. So I have set framework where we're doing 2 dinner, and it's like, oh, it's such work, right? But we are doing 2 dinners a month, and she takes 2 coffees a month. And it's really, really important for us to utilize those, like, the T&E is another thing, but to utilize those touch points is very hard deliverables from her. And I've also shared with my team too about how this is going to support her in her development in this industry, in this space, wherever she goes. So that's one way I genuinely prioritize it in that way. Trying to reconcile the creator rapport with their natural fitness for a campaign has been more challenging in this role for me, because there's such a elevated prestige perspective that we have to take with our creators as Givenchy. We can't be as hyperbolic as we want on TikTok, where TikTok is very like in your face, like, oh my God, I want to snort this loose powder. It's so good. Like that would be like, I probably shouldn't say that, but that could have been something that would probably go viral, and we want the views. But our team in Paris would, take one look at that piece of content and be like, no way are we boosting that. That is so not elevated. So that reconciliation and delivering delicate feedback to creators, and delivering feedback that doesn't make them feel like, I don't want to work with you then. Like, piss off. Like, that was so funny. That's been something really challenging, but that's why the rapport matters, because they know that we're all just girls and guys. We're all just doing our jobs. And if you can like reconcile that, you can protect your business while protecting the integrity of your relationship, and it's all good.
And the creator's brand needs to be of concern here too. So like Christie, I mean, has there been times when you might like want to work with a brand that is more luxe than your usual content, or just like a different style or different branding from like your personal brand? And how do you navigate that? Can you like craft the content to their brand, or is it usually just like this isn't going to work for me this time?
I think as a creator, it is very important to be flexible. And I have very different styles. I think even if you meet me in real life, you would see, oh, like there's actually a sophisticated side of her. She's not all just like super, super bubbly, but I could be that, I think it's very important. So, throughout the campaign with Givenchy, like Haley did mention when we were shooting, we're like, okay, there's stuff that we have to do it this way. There's stuff that we can't do it this way. And it's very important to like listen, I think. Just listen to, I think every brand is different. Every brand catered to different purposes, and like their the aesthetic and styles are different. So I think that ended up being so successful. And I think my point across is to be very flexible.
So that would be your recommendation to other creators, is like maintaining that flexibility. What would you say is your advice to people like in Haley's position or to other brands in terms of like personalization within that relationship? What if they can't personalize every touch point with you? Or what if they just don't have the like bandwidth to, maintain like a really close friendship with every creator, but they want to continue to find new people all the time?
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I think it's very important to not just think about it in a standpoint of like, oh, I'm like aiming for this as a partnership. I think at the end of the day, you're creating a relationship with the brand. And that's why I think it's very important. For example, even when it comes to a campaign, I never expect anything to be a campaign catering to me. Of course, I do feel special when there is one sometimes, because it makes me so happy when the brand do follow my journey, my video, and my style. However, I think majority of the brief that I receive are like the ones that give you like a highlight and key point to talk about. But I also think those are amazing because you get the flexibility. At the end of the day, you're still staying true to yourself. So add in a little humor if you want to, as long as that is not too crazy, And I've, when I work with Haley and her team, although we had to like keep it in a different aesthetic, like very, very more of that high scale aesthetic, I was still able to take the control of like how we can film, how we can, shoot. And then we just work really well together.
That's so great to hear. I love that you all have had this like long-term and successful relationship. Not all relationships are going to work out with the brand. So sometimes you might, Christie, need to choose to not work with a brand, or maybe you're just not interested in the products at that time. And that's really just a reality that sometimes creators will stop working with brands or stop mentioning them. But we actually found that only 16% of marketers are actually tracking the number of creators that stop mentioning them. So those churned creators. Haley, what would you say, and if you're tracking this, which I assume you are because you're an expert in this, what would you say are your strategies for how to get those creators back if maybe your products are just not sitting with them right now, or maybe a person on your team has like left to go to a different brand, so that relationship has changed? What would your recommendations to the brands be?
Yeah. Well, I think it's tough because at least I know from my team, the reason our metric of retained or churn, I guess two sides of the same coin, is not necessarily favorable this year. I'll admit that. It's because I've created this obligation to go after net new creators so that we're expanding our share of voice. So that's another thing. I always say the word reconcile because I guess I'm always in like intellectual turmoil, but I do have to always try to reconcile. Like, I don't want to send Christie loose powder again and again and again because she's already talking about it, she already has it. But I want to keep that seeding. It's that really tough balance. So that's something I think that's kind of a rationale, maybe if the brands are strategic, of why that metric is churning in that way. But I think the other piece, I mean, again, if you have a strong relationship with a creator and their share of voice or their organic love has sort of dropped off and they were productive for you, they're high earning for you, lots of impressions, lots of organic mentions, it's probably worth outreach and saying like, hey, we just reformulated our product and this just happened with us. And we noticed that you haven't posted about it anymore. Do you do you not like the reformulation? Is there something you want to talk about with us? And I've had it before where we've actually connected influencer creator with somebody like our head of education. That's how valuable that relationship was. So if you feel comfortable, like, again, we're all people. If you deal directly with agents, it's where it gets a little murky, because then they just kick you back the rate card and you're like, okay, whatever, get your bag. But yeah, when you're talking to a creator directly, I feel like you can be candid and you can just figure it out. And they might say, like, look, at this time, I need to prioritize paid opportunities. And you kind of have to take that for what it is. But there's no harm in just being human and asking the question.
Yeah, it's the best form of user research, right? Because especially makeup creators are experts in this industry. And they're trying new products all the time. So to really like bridge that gap and just ask, like, what can we do for you? It sounds like that works for you all and could, either strengthen the relationship, but also maybe strengthen the product. So I like that strategy.
I think also, is very important. Like when they have new launches, we're the first one that gets to know it. So for example, when Haley launched like the powder blushes, we got a little sneak peek for that. And she basically like told us like a little whisper, actually just me. But yeah, like I think it also feels very, very special. And then when it actually does launch, like again, although the powder, we always get new makeup all the time. So things could go away fast. But because you fall in love with another new product and then you remember to use your favorite powder again, I think that's very important.
So that continued conversation and just like getting the new products, but also the products that you love, that tends to be a key to that relationship, I guess. Christie, yes. What are the other elements, would you say, that make you continue to return to a brand outside of you've like known this person for a really long time? Like what are the key things that a brand has done for you that sets them apart and makes you go, that's a brand that I want to really keep working with?
Yeah. So I know you have mentioned earlier where, sometimes we don't take partnership, like when the product doesn't work for me. So to be very transparent, that happened to me quite a few times. And for example, like specifically in skincare, like some things, I have very acne prone skin. So sometimes like it can break me out and I wouldn't want to, show that to my audience if it doesn't work for me. So at times when that happens, it's very important to be open and transparent to the brand or the agency that you're talking to. And just let them know, hey, is there another product that we would like to promote and something else that would work for me? Or if there's something that doesn't align in my, what I usually promote, I would do that as well. And then I think those relationship, like little like conversations, things like that, it makes me feel so comfortable to being myself. And it makes me even want to ride or die for them even more. So I think that's what makes it. And then also I think the teams that, have amazing communication, and at the end of the day, I always post about the brand that I use again, because I don't think I would work or take in a brand deal for the products that I wouldn't use on a daily basis. And some brands like actually surprise me with performance and application. For example, like I did a recent collab with Cali Ray, and because of this one bronzer, I was so obsessed. I went to Sephora and I like grabbed everything else. And this is a new brand to me. So sometimes it's like brands like that, it really surprised me. I mean, there are brands that I expected it to be good. And then there are brands like smaller brands that really blew my mind away. So those are the ones that I would always post about them, even if it's not just a video, but it could be a story and things like that. And I'm like, want to work with them again, always.
Yeah, it sounds like even though you have these relationships with many brands, like seeding actually works with you to discover new products. Like for this example, just given in terms of discovering this whole new brand. So that's definitely encouraging, I think, for some of the smaller brands that are trying to widen their communities.
Yeah.
So before we turn to some of the Q&A, there's like some great questions in the chat. I personally have a question, which is, do you guys ever feel like sometimes you have that great relationship with a brand, you want to keep working with them. Maybe for Christie, your content just didn't perform as well as it usually does. Or for Haley, maybe you had really great hopes for a creator and that content didn't perform as well as you thought it would. Again, do you feel like how do you continue that relationship and improve it and improve the content? Do you ever feel like coaching a creator into what works for your brand would work? Or Christie, would you take that advice from a brand?
Yeah, so I'm very I love being open and transparent with my brand partner, like before and after. I never think that this is like a one-man show. Like whenever it comes to a brand partnership video or anything like that, it is a teamwork. Well, actually everything is a teamwork. So I like to discuss about like what are some expectations that we would have, and then how should we execute it? Is there any current trends that are happening? I think those are all important conversations to have. And then even after a partnership, like even if it's not immediate, because sometimes it could be awkward, but grabbing coffee afterwards, or like a few months later, or like at an event, like we can talk about, oh, that video was either, it could be like, oh my God, that was so good. Or it could be like, I feel like we could have definitely done better on this and that. And then that opened a conversation for the next partnership. And even if it's not just for me, with other creators, that could, I think every little process and experience, is almost like an inspiration, and it can better the next one.
Yeah, it feels like this theme of dialogue between the creator and the brand is like the biggest theme that I'm seeing here. It's that conversation of just like, let's rehash this. Let's do a little recap report between ourselves.
Yeah. I wish Haley mentioned about online coffee date, which I've never heard of or thought about, but that is genius.
Yep. No, it works. It's the best thing. I've definitely had creators that have and not even so much as Givenchy, more at Function of Beauty, when I was really up against like CAC programming and they just didn't convert, like their promo code would have like no redemptions. And over there, it was very volatile, where it was like, if they're not converting for us, like kick them out, screw them. And I hated that mentality. So that was more challenging for me. But I think, get on the phone, ask them their perspective. Don't just share, because we all have the framework, or the marketers have the framework of the marketers, but we think we know everything because we're so expert. We have our tools like Tracker, like we're like, well, the engagement rate on it was so bad. Ask the creator what happened. You might not know. There could have been something going on in their personal life at that moment, which again, this is part of an ecosystem of a person-driven channel. Or they could have said like, your brief wanted me to wear a black shirt and stand in front of a white wall, and I do all my posts in front of my makeup wall. So that's what happened. And then you're like, oh, okay.
And I think also, for example, I do want to mention, like I had worked with, obviously the algorithm is not up to our control. Right. And I have worked with somebody recently, and the video did not do as good as I would expect it to be. Mm-hmm. However, there was, can I drop names like Michaela? Michaela stitched a video and it went mega viral.
So love Michaela.
Sometimes there are moments like that, which is like, you never know. It's not just about the number behind one video. It could be something else. So you never know what is going to happen next. So
yeah, there's different reasons why a video may have performed well, and there's different metrics you might have wanted to look at, and that's the same in terms of choosing the creators that you work with too. So Haley, one of the questions in the chat was, what metrics or criteria do you use to determine whether or not to gift? And that could be like halfway along the partnership, where you want to decide whether you want to keep like paying an influencer or working with them in some capacity, or for the first time when you're about to reach out to an influencer.
For us right now, we are up against basically 4 years of pulsed virality around our loose powder. So our loose powder went super viral in 2021. Of course, I had nothing to do with it because I was not there yet. So, but like 2021, 2022, last year went super viral when I joined. We went viral a few times this year. So personally, where I'm at with my brand and my marketing strategy right now, we are looking for creators that are going viral. So creators that are doing things like recreating Olympic looks for seeding, because again, the hope and anticipation, and we have really good products, which I've been also at brands that don't, but we have really strong products. So seeding does yield organic posts for us. So we want those partners like Christie, who did that proprietary, half face this, half face that, like somebody that has their own POV and their own viral concept. Recreating celebrity makeup looks is a place that we've done really well with seeding of people recreating the Olympics looks or other red carpet looks is huge for us. So I guess the metric is probably engagement rate or video views, but I have my team vet for mega viral profiles.
Yeah, you're more focused on like what kind of new creative content are they producing and are they trying out new trends a lot, which is definitely something that I advise our clients on a lot. And I would say that that celebrity makeup recreation probably works great for Givenchy because it's that intermix between, viral trend, super creative, and a bit more like luxe and highbrow, which is kind of where Givenchy sits.
Yeah.
And then how often would you say you're working with an agency versus the direct influencer?
We're all in-house. We do not have an agency. So, do you mean like with the talent?
Yeah. Instead of an influencer's agent directly.
Oh, well, actually it's probably close to 50-50. I'm not actually like executing as much of the influencer marketing anymore on my team, but I guarantee she would say it's probably 50-50, but we take the same playbook. Like we get very, very close with these agents the same way I had drinks last night because it's the same concept.
Yeah. And then Haley was mentioning about seeding and how it really works for the brand. So this is another question in the chat at this time for Christie. From Lucas here, how do you feel about seeding / mailers? How many do you receive? Like what is actually most impactful for you? And then, a lot of brands I know are concerned about waste from an environmental standpoint, a cost standpoint. And then they're also worried about that in terms of brand perception because influencers are concerned on that topic.
So I think it's very important to be creative, but not too excessive because there have been mailers that I've gotten are like mega size and it's just been sitting here because I feel bad for throwing things out. But then, I think it's very important to be creative on your PR mailing because sometimes we do show that on camera. For example, like something little, like for example, Maybelline just came out with their fireworks mascara and it has some little lights. I feel like it is just visually very nice on camera, but it doesn't have to be like necessarily like on top of the world, like 5 boxes within, Yeah.
Yeah, there's like definitely a mix of things that work. And I guess per influencer it changes too. Canner wanted to know, what are your biggest pet peeves from the brand / agency? So I don't know, just like too much packaging, for example, I know is something that influencers are often picky about.
It mentioned brief, so I'm thinking in a campaign way. Is that okay? You can
do it that way, but I think like generally would work too.
In general. Okay. I think honestly, giving freedom of creation is very important. Just because there are different people, different creators that have different style of creating. And when it comes to agency brief, like the ones that scares me the most are the ones that give me exact script of like, okay, you have to say this, like 2%. Like I will understand like if it is a highlight or a key point of the product, but if something that is not even my words, then that are the ones that scares me away. But I haven't received those in such a long time. So it's been a blessing. I think everybody just give us like the creativity and the flexibility now.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when your profession is to be creative, like you are a content creator, you don't want to be put into a box. And I mean, I see that in the data myself whenever I look at the content which is that the content performs so well when someone has just decided to do something out of the box and weird with it.
Yeah. And also actually that also bring me to another point where I did mention I love to have open conversations. So recently I worked with like another brand that, they wanted me to send in creative concept like a month prior to going live. I think those are also very hard because again, trends are coming and dying out almost like in a weekly basis. Yeah. So when you're asking me to submit something super early, when I do go live with it, it might not be relevant anymore. So I think that is a very key point to, think about as well. And then we hop on the phone and, we were like, okay, we understand now. And then they literally like understand me and took that entirely off for me. So I think it's very important to have these conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, both sides of the relationship kind of working dynamically and jumping on a trend quickly, being able to react in a moment's notice. So Haley, in terms of creativity, we were talking about how Christie here maintains her creativity in her content. How would you say that you keep innovating on those brand experiences through your partnerships, but specifically around your traditional products? So I know that that's something that a lot of brands are concerned with is their main products that they're famous for, how to keep recreating them.
Yeah, I mean, our loose powder has been around since 1989. So much like something else that we all love was born in 1989. So it's like a 30-year-old, 35-year-old product. So we really need to keep the revamp almost annually on it. Right now with the loose powder, we take lots of different creative approaches where, we'll work with creators that showcase how to do it specifically to bake and sculpt. We'll work with creators that showcase how to, I could probably like use a little more right now, but like just mattify your look. So we've taken almost like a different technical approach now with create. Everybody can use loose powder. It's friendly to everybody. So we try to innovate on the heritage products by showcasing different rationales, different skin types that benefit, different technical applications. So that's a little specific to that product. But I think even with our lip category and, honestly, even fragrance that was started by Hubert de Givenchy in 1959, it's just everybody's going to have a different experience with a product. So tapping into that anecdotal is the best way to keep consistently refreshed stories because nobody's experience is the same. So that's why I like influencer marketing. Your revamp of marketing is done by everybody else. And you just get to say, and be like, awesome, sounds good.
Yeah, but you're also working very hard to create those relationships, to find the influencers. I know that these brands are working really hard to do that. And then creators are producing amazing content.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christie, what do you think about brand events? Do you prefer dinners or experiences? And also, I guess my question or follow up on that is, how often are you going to produce content from an event as opposed to maybe from like seating or paid partnership?
So I honestly, the least favorite brand events that I personally think of are cocktail hours because it's majority of the time it's just people floating around. And I think this maybe is an East Coast thing. I think in the West Coast is very different. But in the East Coast, we very much we just enjoy being intimate and actually knowing each other. So like even just something so simple like a breakfast coffee, like I think those. So I love the dinner and I also love experience. Like recently I went to Milani event. They did like a cocktail making event. So that is very different. Like the process, the experience. It was something that we all enjoy. And then we were just making content on the set. Like we were making these lip oil inspired cocktails while applying the lip oil and then making content like while we're doing it. So we were having fun, also working.
Yeah, and that's another example of the brand really helping you produce that creativity because they're giving you this like workshop where it's so easy to build content from that, but you're also talking to people around you. It really like facilitates the content for you. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And I guess my last question before we wrap up, there's one more question that Tori's asking, but how do you both feel about some of these events that influencers have done in terms of like sending one creator to a Taylor Swift concert or some massive event, but only focusing on one creator? Haley, do you want to answer that?
I wish I could be the creator sent to the Taylor Swift event. I think... Yeah, no, I think that's a great opportunity. Listen, are you worried about everybody else getting jealous? If that creator has been so productive for you that you think they could cover something so cultural on behalf of your brand, I think it's very sound, cool, innovative thing to do. Everybody who knows me from my Redken days, which might be some people on this call, might not be, I did 3 Coachellas. And we brought, specific create. We didn't get to bring everybody to Coachella. So that's an opportunity to be thoughtful and we had to be. But those that we brought with us or, had fun with in the desert ended up being really productive for us. So it's okay to be selective. You have to be.
Yeah, that smallness that Christie was speaking to earlier, that like intimate.
And I think at the end of the day, everybody get a chance. So, as a creator standpoint, it's like, I feel like sometimes it can get to like, you can definitely see and how some creator would like talk, behind and say like, oh my God, like they're in this. And then, my first ever job was I work in a car dealership. So it's like, we were learned that there were enough for everybody. Yeah. Shocking. I don't know anything about cars.
That's crazy. I need you to do a get ready with me telling about top 10 5 products I would have brought to my job at the car dealership.
Actually, the craziest
talk about a job that gives you those personal skills, though. I'm sure that you've taken
I actually started off my channel before growing to like 300K and like finding my niche of beauty. I talked about my experiences of working in my past job. So
Okay.
traumatizing, but I also learned a lot. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I mean, it's time to wrap up here, but so many other questions in the chat. So maybe we can send them to you all and post the answers. But I just want to give a massive thank you to these wonderful panelists, Haley and Christie. Their social channels are in the chat. If you want to take a look at those and go follow them. We are having another webinar series event next Thursday, August 15th at 12 p.m. Eastern. And for that, we'll be discussing the next step in creator lifecycle journey of how to strengthen your creator community with Jeff Giordano, Senior Director of Brand Marketing and Social Strategy at Sally Beauty, and Nicole Harriman, Community Marketing Manager at Sony. And I know I've worked with Sally Beauty myself, and I know that they're doing a great job of building like a micro community that they continue to turn to over and over. So Jeff's really an expert on that. If you're interested in learning more about how Tracker can help you scale your creator community, use that button to sign up for a free demo. And yeah, thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much to our panelists here, Haley, Christie. We owe you everything. And we hope you get to return or come to one of our events in the future. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.